The wait is finally over, and you can just feel that energy in the air again. Opening day has this unique vibe that no other moment in the season can match. And for Toronto fans, it hits even harder this time around. There's excitement, there's curiosity, and there's also that little voice in the back of your mind reminding you how unpredictable baseball can be. Still, as this new chapter begins, all eyes are locked in on what this Blue Jays squad is about to show in 2026. Coming into this first series, there's a real sense of anticipation about how this team is going to perform, especially against a lineup that can actually test them right away. This is not one of those soft openings where everything feels comfortable. Instead, it's the kind of matchup that forces you to learn something about your team immediately. And honestly, that might be exactly what this group needs. The spotlight is on the pitching rotation early, a unit that has been hyped up as one of the strongest in the league, and now it's time to see if that reputation holds up when it actually matters. At the same time, there's this ongoing conversation that always seems to come back every single year. How much should you really take from the first few games? It's such a long season, 162 games, and yet fans will react like everything is decided within the first 9 innings. That's just the nature of baseball. If someone has a huge game, suddenly they're the hero of the season. If someone struggles, the criticism comes just as fast. And that emotional roller coaster is part of what makes opening day so intense. But there's also a lesson that this team learned the hard way not too long ago. Starting slow can leave a mark, especially when expectations are high. Last season didn't begin the way fans hoped, and that memory still lingers. The difference now is perspective. This roster has already shown how quickly things can turn around over the course of a year. From disappointment to competing at the highest level, the journey reminded everyone that baseball seasons are marathons, not sprints. Even so, it's impossible to ignore the excitement surrounding this lineup. There's a mix of established names and players looking to take that next step, and the way this batting order shapes up could define the early part of the season. You're looking at hitters who bring different profiles to the table, some with power, some with discipline, and others who can grind out at-bats and create opportunities. That balance is something every team searches for, and now the question is whether it can translate into consistent production. One of the most interesting dynamics here is how the lineup adjusts depending on the opposing pitcher. Matchups matter, and this team has shown a clear tendency to lean into that strategy. Facing a right-handed arm one day and a left-handed arm the next means changes are coming, and not just minor ones. The order can shift, roles can evolve, and suddenly players find themselves in different spots with different responsibilities. That kind of flexibility can be a strength, but it also requires execution. There's also a lot of attention on how certain players approach their at-bats early in the season. Plate discipline, pitch selection, and the ability to extend at-bats can make a huge difference, especially when facing a starter for the first time in a series. The more pitches you force a pitcher to throw, the more information you gather, and that can benefit the entire lineup. It's not always about the highlight moment. Sometimes it's about setting the tone for the players coming up behind you. And then there's the mental side of it all. Confidence plays such a massive role in baseball, maybe more than in any other sport. A strong spring can give players that extra belief, even if the numbers themselves don't carry over. On the flip side, struggles can linger if they're not handled the right way. That's why opening day feels like a reset button. Whatever happened before, good or bad, doesn't define what comes next. Around the league, there have already been some surprising moments, and that just adds to the unpredictability. Big names can have quiet games, unexpected players can step up, and suddenly the narrative starts shifting before teams have even settled in. It's a reminder that nothing is guaranteed, no matter how strong a roster might look on paper. As for Toronto, the focus remains on execution and staying grounded. There's a lot of hype surrounding this team, and for good reason, but managing those expectations is part of the challenge. Fans are excited, and they should be. The season is here, the stage is set, and everything that happens from this point forward starts to build the story of what this team will become. As the attention shifts deeper into the lineup construction, the conversation becomes even more intriguing because this is where small decisions can create a big ripple effect throughout the game. The top of the order naturally grabs headlines, but it is often the middle and lower sections that quietly determine whether a team can sustain pressure inning after inning. For Toronto, there's a clear identity forming, but there are still a few spots that feel open to interpretation depending on matchups and early season performance. At the top, there's a sense of stability with certain names almost locked into their roles regardless of who is on the mound. That consistency matters because it allows the rest of the lineup to fall into place more naturally. But once you move beyond those core positions, things start to get more fluid. There are players who bring power potential, others who offer contact and patience, and figuring out how to balance those traits is not as simple as it might seem. Every decision influences how pitchers approach the lineup as a whole. One of the more fascinating debates centers around how to structure the hitters behind the main run producers. Do you stack power and try to overwhelm opposing pitching, or do you spread it out to maintain constant pressure? There is a strong argument for both approaches, and that is where the philosophy of the coaching staff really starts to show. Building a lineup is not just about putting the best hitters at the top. It is about creating a rhythm that makes life difficult for the opposing team from the first inning to the last. Another layer to this discussion is the type of at-bats each player brings. There are hitters who can end an inning quickly with aggressive swings, and then there are those who can stretch an at-bat, foul off pitches, and force the pitcher to reveal more of their arsenal. That contrast becomes incredibly valuable early in the season when teams are still trying to figure out tendencies. Having someone who can grind through an at-bat and pass that information along to teammates can change the entire dynamic of a game. There's also something to be said about chemistry and comfort within a lineup. When players understand their roles and feel confident in what is expected of them, it often translates into better performance on the field. That sense of clarity can reduce hesitation and allow hitters to focus purely on execution. Early in the season, establishing that rhythm can make a significant difference, especially in close games where every detail matters. Looking at the broader picture, this team is not just trying to win games in the moment. They're trying to build momentum that carries forward. The first series might only represent a small fraction of the schedule, but the habits formed during this stretch can stick. Whether it is the approach at the plate, the communication between players, or the overall mindset, these early games help set the tone for everything that follows. And while the focus remains on strategy and performance, there's still that undeniable emotional element that comes with the start of a new season. Fans are fully invested again. Every pitch feels meaningful, and every result sparks a reaction. That energy feeds into the players, creating an atmosphere that is hard to replicate at any other point in the year. It is a reminder of why this moment matters so much, not just in terms of standings, but in terms of setting the stage for what could be a very memorable season. As the anticipation builds closer to that first pitch, individual storylines begin to carry even more weight. There are players stepping into this season with something to prove, whether it is bouncing back from inconsistency or trying to establish themselves as everyday contributors. Early opportunities can define perception, and even a handful of strong games can quickly shift how a player is viewed within the team and by the fans watching every move. At the same time, there's a natural curiosity around how certain adjustments made during the offseason will translate once the games truly count. Swing changes, tweaks in approach, and even subtle mechanical differences can look promising in controlled environments, but the real test comes against live competition. The speed of the game feels different, the pressure is higher, and execution becomes everything. That is where confidence either grows or gets challenged. Another key factor that cannot be ignored is how the opposing pitchers choose to attack this lineup. Early in the season, there's often a feeling-out process on both sides. Hitters are trying to rediscover timing, while pitchers are testing their command and sequencing. That chess match can lead to unpredictable results, especially when both sides are still adjusting. It creates moments where preparation meets instinct, and those moments often define the outcome. Defensively, there's also an expectation that fundamentals will play a major role, especially in tight games where one mistake can shift momentum instantly. Clean innings, smart positioning, and quick decision-making all become part of the equation. While offense tends to grab the spotlight, it is often the defensive execution behind the scenes that helps secure early wins and build confidence across the roster. There is also the pacing of the game to consider, something that becomes even more noticeable at the beginning of the season. Players are still settling into their routines, and timing is not always perfect right away. Some innings may move quickly, while others feel like they stretch on longer than expected. That rhythm can influence how both teams respond, especially when it comes to maintaining focus over 9 innings. From a leadership perspective, these early games offer a chance for experienced players to set the tone, not just through performance, but through presence. The way they handle pressure situations, communicate with teammates, and respond to adversity can shape the overall mindset of the group. Those small details often go unnoticed in the moment, but they contribute to building a stronger, more resilient team over time. And as everything comes together on the field, there's that constant reminder that this is just the beginning of a much larger journey. Every inning, every at-bat, and every decision starts to add up, forming the early identity of this team. The excitement, the uncertainty, and the potential all blend into one, creating a sense that anything can happen as this season starts to unfold. And as much as the focus stays on performance, there's always that emotional undercurrent that runs through opening week. The anticipation, the nerves, the excitement of finally being back in meaningful competition, it all blends together into an atmosphere that is hard to replicate at any other point in the year. For the Toronto Blue Jays, this is not just about starting a schedule. It is about beginning a journey that carries expectations, belief, and the understanding that every small moment now can build towards something much bigger as the season continues to unfold. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. Rumors swirling around Los Angeles Dodgers camp have taken an unexpected financial twist as whispers about the salary of one of the standout stars of spring training begin to surface. While the organization has remained characteristically tight-lipped, insiders suggest that the figure tied to the rising performer is far from what many would expect given his recent impact on the field. The player, who has quickly become one of the most talked-about names in camp, is reportedly earning a salary that falls well below the perceived market value for someone delivering such eye-catching performances. This revelation has sparked speculation among analysts and fans alike, raising questions about how long the current arrangement can realistically hold if the athlete continues on this trajectory. Sources close to the situation hint that the Dodgers front office may already be aware of the growing imbalance between production and pay. Some believe this could be part of a broader strategic approach, allowing the team to maximize short-term value while maintaining long-term flexibility. Others, however, interpret it as a potential ticking clock, with contract talks possibly looming sooner rather than later. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.